The bell over the door rings, and I already know something is wrong. The corner camera stutters, static crawls. Three men in masks move as if they've practiced in a mirror. One goes for the aisles, one for the safe that doesn't exist. The leader walks straight up to the counter and calls me what he thinks I am. Old man. Andre is 19 and still says, "Yes, sir," to everyone. He reaches for the register before I can stop him. The gun butt flashes. Bone meets tile. I hear the crack through my teeth. He looks at me for half a second, confused, a smear of red by his ear, and the leader laughs like this is all theater. 340, I tell them. That's what you'll get. Call an ambulance. Take the pills and go. Call an ambulance. They push through the swinging gate to the back. Bottles rattle. Child-proof caps roll like beads on the floor. My hands are up. My heart skips hard enough to blur the edges. The fluorescent buzz stacks on the siren that isn't here yet. I can smell disinfectant and copper. Andre tries to stand. The muzzle tilts. Two shots thud flat in the air. He folds where Rosa used to hand out insulin for free. I slide in his blood and put both hands on the holes. I count. I press. I tell him to stay with me. I say his name until it feels like chewing glass. The camera in the corner goes dead. The door swings hollow. Phones keep ringing somewhere we can't reach. Andre stares at the light and misses it by inches. The sirens are still blocks away. I can hear them now. It does not matter. Andre dies before the paramedics arrive. If you want to see what an old man does next, don't look away. Keep watching. Hit subscribe if you believe justice doesn't retire, and share this story with someone who still thinks time makes a man harmless. My name's Marcus Webb, 73, retired pharmacist, widower, East Los Angeles. Once, I moved boxes with names I don't say anymore, before Rosa bought me a white coat and told me to wear it like a promise. 40 years married, no children of our own, just a community that felt like one. Now it's just me, my pills, and a house that sounds different when it breathes. Rain scrapes the gutter like an old record skipping. I line up my medications on Rosa's cutting board. Heart, blood, pain, heart again. Routine keeps the ghosts organized. The label on each bottle catches light, and the expiration dates feel like small prophecies. I pour coffee into her favorite mug, the one with a chipped lip that always finds my mouth. It tastes like the inside of a paper bag. The spoon rattles once, then twice. Then I set it down before it says more about me than I want heard. I lay the nitro on my tongue and press it to the roof of my mouth. Bitter, metallic, a coin melting. I wait for the rush behind the eyes that says, "Not yet." Rosa watches me from a frame by the window, a faint reflection of her face floating in rain-slick glass. The porch awning ticks and ticks like a lazy metronome. I straighten the photo until the church dress lines up with the edge of the frame. She had a way of making a room quiet by walking into it. I have a way of making it quiet by outlasting it. The fridge hums. The clock over the stove runs half a second slow since the day she left, just enough to make every minute feel like a loose step. I sit. The chair complains the same way it always does when I come home late from work and sit down too hard. I fold my hand over my chest and feel the thud skip, stutter, catch. I count to 8, then stop because numbers can't help me where I'm going. A knock. Not eager, not timid. 2 firm taps that mean someone practiced before they tried my door. I open the door to a detective with damp shoulders and eyes that have rehearsed this part. He doesn't cross the threshold. He keeps his voice low as if grief has ears. "No leads," he says. "Cameras were out. We're watching similar crews." He loses the rest in the rain. I nod like I'm taking notes on the weather. He gives me a card I won't use, and he looks past me into the dim house like the answer might be hanging from a nail. It isn't. It's already in my pocket, warming. The door closes on his apology. The awning keeps time. I slide my wedding band off just until the skin underneath pales, then roll it back on. The groove it leaves is a thin, honest scar. I test the fit again. Off, on, off, on. Metal sings a small circle against bone. It's a clock, too. On the counter, the burned ends of receipt tape from the pharmacy register. I didn't throw them out. I don't throw out proof. I lay one beside the pill line. The columns of numbers look like teeth. I picture Andre stocking cough drops, humming off-key, head down, the world smaller than it should have been. I put the receipt in my pocket with the band's faint heat. The nitro answers me at last. Vision edges clear. Pain steps back half an inch. It's enough to stand. I rinse the mug and leave the water beating on porcelain. Rosa hated that. She'd dry the rim with the end of her sleeve and kiss my jaw without moving the towel. I touch the frame's glass instead. My thumbprint clouds her smile, then fades. The house exhales. Somewhere, a pipe knocks like a distant door. Every sound is a map if you know how to read it. I do. When the body starts lying to you, do you trust the pills or the part that still knows what must be done? The church smells like lilies and wet wool. The choir is soft, not to soothe, to keep the edges from cutting deeper. Andre's mother stands with both hands on a folded program, as if it could hold her up if the floor disappeared. I put my palm over hers and feel the tremor move from bone to paper. I'll handle the pharmacy, I tell her. Paperwork, appraisal. You won't have to stand in that doorway again. Her mouth opens. Nothing comes out. She nods. Tears find the corner of her jaw and hang there, stubborn as a child. I take the program so she does not have to watch her own hands fail. Someone says nice words about a boy who wore blue earbuds even when he pretended they were off. They get his laugh right. They get his stubbornness wrong. He was patient, not stubborn. Patience takes practice. Stubborn sits there and dares you. He was not a dare. He was steady. Outside, the sky is the color of old nickels. Cars idle in a crooked line. A deacon passes me a clipboard with a pen tied to it by a string. Boxes to check for donation of fixtures, inventory estimate, and intent to sell. I sign my name on the line that lets the world stop looking at her for decisions. The ink shines and then dries. Inside my head, a different line speaks. There will be no sale. I carry a cardboard box to her trunk, old receipts, an apron with Rosa's name stitched in blue, a label maker with a cracked wheel. She touches the apron as if it could breathe. I close the trunk so she can stop pretending to let it go. I put my number on a sticky note and wedge it by the center console where she will not miss it. She says, "Thank you," without sound. I nod like I heard it. I drive to the pharmacy. The plywood over the glass takes graffiti as if it were waiting for it. The security light blinks a slow heartbeat. I fish out the keys and test the top lock. It's stiff. The deadbolt answers with a tired click that has always sounded like permission. Inside, dust has already begun to settle the way it does when a room decides no one lives there anymore. I stand where Rosa used to rest her hip against the counter. I swear I can hear the tape dispenser snap. I swear I can hear her say 1 more minute to a patient and give them 3. I wrap my wedding band in the corner of a receipt and stuff it into my palm. I can feel the circle bite and then warm, a small promise, pressed to skin. My breath fogs the glass of the empty fridge where we kept insulin samples. Rosa never made anyone prove they were sick. She made the world prove it could be kinder. It rarely bothered to try. The realtor leaves a voicemail while I'm still inside. "Market's hot," he says. "I can get you over ask with a short window." He puts a smile into his words. I let it ring to the end. I hold the phone to my chest so I can feel the voice vibrate against my bone. Then I delete the message and empty the trash. No ghosts. On the counter, a stack of vendor notices curls at the edges. Past due. Final notice. Final is a word people use when they want you to stop arguing. They do not know that some arguments were settled long before they arrived. I slide the notices into a drawer and close it with 2 fingers. Soft. No drama. The drawer understands the moment better than the men on the other end of those letters ever will. I take the for sale flyer off the plywood. The staple squeals and gives up. I fold the paper once, then again, until it becomes a square that says nothing anymore. It goes into my pocket with the ring and the receipt. 3 squares, 3 weights, 3 proofs. Rosa's laugh is still in here. It is in the rubber mat behind the counter where she stood until her legs ached. It is in the coin tray where she would make faces with the quarters to make children stop crying. It is in the bell over the back door that only she could make sound gentle. I stand and listen until the rain goes soft enough to hear it. I lock up. I do not put the flyer back. I do not call the realtor. I drive past the title office without checking my turn signal. The road to Boyle Heights opens like it was always the only road. The promise I made to a grieving mother is a bridge. It will hold just long enough for her to cross, and no longer. I tell myself that mercy wears many coats. Some are thick, some are made of smoke. When a promise is the only medicine you can offer and you know it is a lie, is it still a kindness if it buys her one quiet night? The garage door is rolled halfway up, a jaw clenched against the night. Light leaks across busted concrete in a long, oil-slick tongue. A MIG welder spits blue in the corner. Sparks pinwheel and die in a tray of water that hisses like a warning. 90s hip-hop thumps through a dented speaker. Tinny, relentless, all snare. The song knows these men by name, even if I don't. Ernesto Vega straightens from under a Civic shell, wipes his hands on a rag that used to be a team jersey. His beard is more salt than black now, but the eyes are still pit bull, searching for who's behind you before they look at you. He sees me, and the rag stops moving. The room recalibrates around the pause. You shouldn't be here, Smoke. Nobody calls me Marcus in places like this. Names get you in the door. History keeps you alive after you walk through it. I step into the light so he can see exactly how old the legend got. My heart does that hard double tap it likes lately. I let it. A body can warn you or slow you down. I don't have time for the second. Just need a name, I say. His boys pretend to work while they count exits. The youngest one checks the angle grinder like it's a bat, and I'm a curveball he wasn't ready for. I move past a tire rack that's leaning wrong and see my reflection, skinned thin over chrome. A ghost that still weighs something. Ernesto angles himself between me and the office. He's not the type to hug and make the past feel friendly. He's the type to measure what the past might ask for and see if he can afford it. What name? He says, flat as primer. I set Rosa's ring on the workbench with 2 fingers. Gold on steel. Small, bright, stubborn. The sound it makes is just loud enough to quiet the music in the mind. Clean, definite, not a question. He looks at the ring and then back up at me. No, he says, not for that. I slide the ring an inch. It buys me a question. The answer can cost more. He doesn't touch it. Won't let himself. He's smart enough to know that the thing you pick up owns you until you set it down again. He downs a swallow of something from a chipped mug, grimaces, and sets it away from the ring as if the metals might argue. You left, he says. Rosa cleaned you. Church, taxes, and licenses on a wall. We all took that as proof there was a different route. There was, I tell him. Until last week. He knows about the pharmacy. They all do. News moves faster than regret. The kid with the grinder looks down, shame rolling through his shoulders like a shrug meant for somebody better. Ernesto's jaw works. The welder in the corner spits a few more sparks for company. Danny Corcoran, I say, letting it test the air. Crew that pulls pills. Armenian backstop. Van Nuys strip. Sepulveda bars. I don't need his habits. I need his door. Ernesto's eyes do that quick math. Who I'll hurt. Who'll blame him. Who will come to balance the ledger later. You know the names already, he says. You came for a blessing you can pretend you didn't hear. I came to pay for the part I can't get along with. I tap the ring. Rosa would say it's a stupid price. She isn't here to argue. He lifts the rag and makes a show of wiping the bench around the ring as if any of this is about cleanliness. Danny runs through a guy called Sinan at a hookah lounge in Glendale, Ernesto mutters, not looking at me. Money washes through there before it goes upstairs. Danny's got 2 apartments. One he sleeps in, one he stashes in. He moves between them when he's using. The stash is the important one. He chews the inside of his cheek, then spits into the drain. Van Nuys. Strip mall behind a nail salon. Unit numbers rubbed off. Look for the door with fresh paint and an old lock. I pull a small photo from my pocket. Andre. Graduation cap crooked, grin too big for his face. I set it beside the ring so Ernesto has to see both at once. He does. He swallows hard enough to move his beard. I didn't ask what you'll do, he says. You don't have to, I answer. He pushes the ring back to me with one knuckle, rough and careful at the same time. Keep it. If you're set on this, you'll need more than luck. She'd want it with you. I close my hand over the band, and it climbs back into its old groove like it never left. Some promises aren't words. They're circles you carry until your skin grows around them. Ernesto nods toward the back. Sinan plays cards on Tuesdays. LAPD shakes the place now and then, but it doesn't stick. If you feel like making it stick, bring a camera that doesn't look like one. I turn to go, then stop. One more thing. Danny Skim? Ernesto's eyes flick to the youngest in the corner, then back to me. He thinks he's smart enough to steal from men who don't forgive arithmetic. That's your angle? It's the only angle that makes men like Aram listen. Ernesto snorts. Aram listens to money and mothers. You bring him one or the other, and he'll give you a window. Miss it, and you won't like the draft. The bass line thumps again, the song caught in a loop older than all of us. I pocket the photo and the ring, and the room exhales like a pit bull deciding not to bite, for now. As I duck under the half-open door, rain smacks my face with the relief of a simple truth. There's no clean way forward. There's only one way that ends this. When a man hands you the door you asked for and tries to hand your ring back, do you keep the symbol of who you were or spend it to finish who you must be? Voicemail first. Speaker turned low so the words come across like instructions printed on a label. My cardiologist's voice is steady, clipped, the way you talk when you don't want to scare a skittish animal. Your valve is failing. 6 months, maybe less. If pain spikes, use nitroglycerin. Avoid exertion. I'd like you to consider hospice options. The message ends with a soft click, like someone putting a lid on a jar. I empty the pill organizer onto Rosa's cutting board and rebuild the week in neat squares. Morning, noon, night. The nitro sits off to the side in its dark bottle like a secret you don't speak aloud. I load 2 into my pocket, thumb the third until it creaks in the foil, then stop. You don't burn the parachute while you're still climbing. The kitchen light doesn't reach the table by the window. So I drag the city map onto the counter where the bulb hums, and the linoleum doesn't argue. A LAPD beat map, old ink bruised blue along the folds. I pencil a grid across it: North Hollywood, Panorama, Boyle Heights, Glassell Park, Glendale. Pharmacies get little squares. Ones hit in the last month get an X. The X's spread like mold in a shower corner. No pattern at first glance. Then two long streets line up, 3 miles apart. Targets near freeways, exits that spit you into apartments where nobody knows your name until they need it. I mark CVS, Panorama, with today's date. Write crew bold, sloppy, in small letters that don't shake if I press down hard enough. I cross it with a single stroke. Finished. I do the same to two others I know, thanks to the security footage I can't unsee. Cross, cross. Finished doesn't mean solved. It means accounted for. I print Danny Corcoran on a white strip of tape like a label you'd put on a spice jar and stick it to a folded sheet. Addresses, bar names, license plate photos, screenshots of social pages where men like him still think posts disappear if you delete them. The sheet goes into a folder. The folder goes into an envelope. The envelope slides under the bread box. If a stranger walks in here, they'll find wheat flour, toothpicks, and a plan. The voicemail plays again. Not because I forgot it, but because repetition turns fear into data. Avoid exertion. He means, move like you're fragile. I won't. Fragile breaks. Worn bends and keeps its shape. I take Rosa's ring from my pocket and set it at the center of the map, right over a junction where 3 freeways braid like veins. Gold ring, gray roads, black ink. She used to say I was good at noticing what other men were too busy to see. It wasn't a compliment, it was a warning. I turned the ring and watched the kitchen light catch the engraving inside, R+M. The plus sign is crooked. She did that on purpose. Said nothing straight stays long. I circle Glendale and write Sinan, lounge, Aram's ear. I circle Van Nuys and write stash apartment, fresh paint, old lock. I print poker, Tuesdays, and draw a small siren beside it. That one gets a red pin dot. A red dot is a promise. The heart skips hard enough to steal breath, so I brace both hands on the counter and wait for the blood to remember its route. When it does, I breathe out slowly to teach it the pace I need. 1 nitro under the tongue. Bitter, coppery rush, then a quiet curtain lifting. I write dose over 612 in the corner of the map. Record keeping keeps a man honest, or at least accountable. I make a short list with a blunt pencil. Cash, burner, camera that isn't a camera, gloves without powder, tape, quiet shoes. I add church clothes to the bottom, because some doors only open if you look like you won't steal anything inside. I write no gun and underline it. Not out of mercy, out of control. Guns turn decisions into reflexes. I need decisions. I push the map away and lay out the tools on the cutting board like ingredients. Envelope, phone still in its box, a coil of clear tape, a compact from Rosa's purse that still smells faintly of drugstore rose. I open it and check my eyes. Yellow around the whites, not worse than last week. The face that looks back is a ledger, paid in full. I close the compact and put it back exactly where it sat for years. Habit is a kind of prayer. The voicemail sits on the phone as a red circle with a number 1 in it. I don't clear it. I want the reminder visible. Death is the only appointment you don't reschedule. I slide the envelope under my jacket and test the weight. Light enough to run, heavy enough to matter. I open the back door, let the damp night push past me into the kitchen, and listen. Far traffic. A siren somewhere can do some good. A dog arguing with the dark 1 yard over. I put the ring back on. It finds its groove by itself. I lock the door and turn the deadbolt. The sound is small and exact, a decision you can carry in your pocket. When a doctor gives you a clock and the city provides you a map, which one do you obey? The time left in your chest, or the routes your hands still remember? I park across from the CVS with the engine off and the heater fan barely turning. Rain lies on the windshield, making the world look like it's trying to hide. Through the glass, I watch four shapes drift toward automatic doors that open too politely for what's about to happen. Hoodies up, shoulders loose, elbows tucked the way men do when their hands are heavy. The first two go wide, one to the cold medicines, one to the back counter. The third posts by cosmetics to watch the lanes. Danny floats to the register like a regular with exact change. I bring the monocular to my eye and write plate numbers on a receipt stub. Blue Civic, Prime Tahoe, a Lexus with a mismatched mirror. The kind of fleet that never passes inspection unless the inspector likes envelopes. The clerk's face tightens, mouth goes small. Danny leans in, says something I can't hear, taps the glass with two knuckles. The clerk opens the drawer with a hand that wants to tremble and refuses. The watcher by cosmetics nods toward the security dome, cracks a grin at his own reflection, and turns it just enough to blind its view. Sloppy. My pen presses harder. They move fast, learn timing. 30 seconds to bottle the high-demand stuff, another 15 to sweep the locked case they already checked for weak screws. I record the timestamps in the margin of the receipt. Out the door in under a minute, shoulders loose again, a bad weather front passing. I let them go. My job is not to stop them here. It's the end of the route that makes this easy. I pull into the next lot, face the brick wall, and call a number I haven't used in years. Anonymous tip, I say when the desk clicks over. Warehouse south of the 170, Tuesday poker, cash game, guns in the glove boxes. One of them owes someone who doesn't forgive. I give an address I memorized when Ernesto said it out loud. I add 3 details no civilian would know. The alley gate sticks. The camera on the east door is dead. The men leave their phones in a cookie tin near the fridge so nobody can triangulate their night. The operator stops interrupting and writes. I end the call, crush the receipt stub in my fist, and breathe slowly until the inhale clears the jag of pain running up my left arm. The inhaler hisses, cold in the mouth, a plastic snow that coats the lungs. I sit with it. Air returns, stubborn but willing. Tuesday comes. I park 2 blocks off and watch the warehouse glow like a fish tank. Men drift in. Same posture, same confidence. Danny arrives last, just in time to ask for attention. He doesn't knock. He palms the handle and walks through it like it knows him. I make one more call, different line, short. Now. Sirens smudge the night from 3 directions. Engines low, lights off until the turn, then color. The first cruiser kisses the curb hard. 2 unmarked slide and slow, noses out for a bite. The door opens and uniforms move into the gap. Black fabric, bright letters, a chorus of instructions no one argues with when they plan to see the morning. A man runs into a wall and apologizes to it. The cookie tin rattles off a counter. The fish tank breaks. Water everywhere. They cuff 9. Danny last. He wears the smirk they practice in county mirrors. I study the corners of his mouth, the part that twitches when a man's nerves send a truth he won't accept. There it is. A tiny skip under the left eye. Fear, notarized. He spots me past the cruiser glass and squints like he recognizes the outline of a problem he'll misread. I look away before curiosity becomes memory. They haul him into the back seat. The door shuts with that hollow police thunk that tells you the inside and the outside have parted. I sit until the lot drains, then drive home behind a bus that never quite reaches the curb. 2 days later, he walks out of the county with a face washed clean, paper bag of his things, fresh hoodie. The same smile now turned toward a man leaning on a Benz at the far end of the lot. Wallet opens, handshake offered. Debt erased by someone else's money. He is lighter, and therefore louder. He laughs into the sky, and the sound climbs the garage and comes down on me. I expected this. Some men wear consequences like rain, shake it off, keep moving. My plan needs them dry. I do not follow him to celebrate. I follow him to learn the gate of his freedom. He heads to Sepulveda, end of the bar, back to a wall, orders what men order when they want to look generous. I stay in the car and write a note to myself in block letters. Window victory. The difference matters. The inhaler hisses again. I check my pulse against the sweep hand on the dashboard clock and wait for the skip to even. The light catches the edge of Rosa's ring and sets a thin sun on my knuckle. I turn it once. I let the Benz driver's face fix in my mind. Square jaw, scar at the hairline, a patience that says he eats boredom for pay. Danny lifts his glass to nobody. The laugh returns. It is showy. The way men laugh when they have not learned how short a laugh can be. When a trap closes and the animal slips out with help, do you chase the animal or walk upstream to the hand that feeds it? The hookah lounge smells like cardamom and engine oil, sweet smoke pulled through a glass vase, then breathed slowly by men who measure patience by how long they can hold a draw. Low light pools around booths. Lamps hang at face level, so faces make their own maps in the dark. I sit with my hands folded on my knees like a man who remembers how to keep them where they won't give anything away. Aram Petrosian is older than the room thinks he should be. His suit fits like a question he's already answered. Tailored, quiet, the kind of clothes that absorb attention and keep it. He watches without moving, a cat that waits for a mouse to choose whether to run. He doesn't invite me to sit. He doesn't need to. I slide the photos across the table like a dealer offering a hand. The first one is a stock image I doctored. A receipt with numbers redrawn. A blurred security still where I cloned a second hand reaching into a tray. A timestamp I shifted by an hour so it looked like a pattern instead of a mistake. The second shows a pill pack labeled for a small clinic with a corner of a delivery manifest I cropped from an account Danny uses in a photo he posted once, proud and stupid. The third is a picture of cash, too much for a kid who works nights, stacked by a register with a smudged fingerprint I'd photoshopped to match a glove print I'd seen in a 15-year-old case file. Aram turns them over one by one. He listens to the lie like he's tasting wine. Slow, exact, looking for the finish. He thumbs the corner of the photo where I'd left a fingerprint smudge and says nothing about the forgery. Men like him rarely call out the lies. They count the cost of believing them. "You're too old for this," he says finally, eyes on me, not the pictures. It's not a question. It's the way a man points out a fact he's already weighed. "You'd be surprised what survives age," I tell him. My voice is small in the room, but it lands like a coin on tile. The ring on my finger presses cold against the leather of the chair. I let him feel the circle of it without showing the photograph folded in my breast pocket, the one of Andre smiling with a stupid crooked cap. It's private leverage. Aram studies me like a mechanic might study a used engine. The sound it makes at idle, the way it coughs under pressure, whether it needs a tune-up or should be scrapped. He leans back, blows a slow ribbon of smoke, and the lounge exhales with him. "You brought me what, Marcus?" he asks, not a challenge. A ledger entry awaits a signature. "Evidence of profiteering," I say. "Danny's cutting the take, selling direct, making problems. He's sloppy, he's loud, he's stepping on people who pay protection." I don't tell him which pictures are edited. I don't need to. A man like Aram can mind-read what his enemies will say when they see the receipts. Aram's face goes flat. The way it does means wheels are spinning. He doesn't ask how I got the photos. Men like him accept that some debts are arranged in the dark. He asks a different question. "What do you want?" I put the ring down on the table so it catches the light and becomes a small, quiet sun. "I want him off the leash for 24 hours, I say. No protection, no backup. I want a window where the usual safety net, your people, their people, pulls back. Give me that, and I'll do whatever I must." He narrows his eyes. The idea of someone asking for a leash is an odd one. Nobody asks. They buy. But the ring is a currency he understands. History, debt, obligation. He glances at the ring, back at me, then at the photos. The math happens in the space between puffs of smoke. Aram taps his knuckle on the table twice, an old gesture that means consideration and the closing of a deal at once. 24 hours, he says, voice even. You get a day. You take him, you pay your dues. You fail, and you cost a lot more than rings and pictures. You cost people who answer to me. He names the condition without needing to say the word. No protection, not out of mercy, but to keep the account balanced. He wants deniability. I want the last movement. I pick the ring up and slip it back over my finger. It fits like an apology and a threat at once. I fold the photos into my pocket and stand. The lounge's music swells a note as if to mark a transition. Men look up and return to their smoke. The world outside keeps being a city that forgives loudly and remembers quietly. I walk into the night with 24 hours like a blade in my coat. The nitro's bitter salt anchors the back of my tongue. The map in my head edges toward a single point, Van Nuys, Sepulveda, a bar where Danny eats applause with his drinks, a stash apartment with fresh paint. If a powerful man loans you the leash that keeps a predator quiet for a day, do you spend that day making sure the predator understands what it means? Or spend it ensuring there will be no predators left to wear one? I kill the breaker first. The house inhales darkness and holds it. I stand in the kitchen and listen to the quiet settle, tick of rain on the window frame, a pipe tapping twice in the wall like it changed its mind. My eyes adjust. I move by touch the way you do in a room you built with someone you loved. Under the sink, the shutoff valve stares like a single dull eye. I twist it open half a turn, then another. A soft hiss crawls out and lies on the floor. I unscrew the line to the stove with a wrench wrapped in cloth so the metal won't kiss metal and call attention. The thread complains, then gives. Gas breath washes my face. Sweet, wrong, familiar from 100 caution stickers. I wedge the line so it points under the oven where the cavity will fill first. In the living room, the wall heater's pilot is a little blue star. I blow it out. The darkness takes the spot like a dropped coin. I leave the windows closed and the vents shut. The house becomes a lung that won't exhale. I make a slow circuit. Bedroom. I crack the lamp's socket so the filament will arc on the first try. Bathroom. I roll a towel and press it against the gap under the door to steer the flow back toward the kitchen. Hall. I flip each switch up so only the kitchen light needs to be touched to wake the whole place. I lay a matchbox on the counter, within easy reach anyway. Insurance and temptation both. On the table, Rosa's cutting board waits with the lineup of pill bottles like little orange soldiers. I take one nitro, press it to the roof of my mouth, and swallow when the rush hits the back of my throat. My hand steadies just enough to do what the old body doesn't want. I slide my wedding band off, turn it, and settle it back into its groove. The circle seals the plan. I pull Andre's graduation photo from the envelope. His grin is too broad, cap crooked like he meant to make the principal work for it. I tuck him into my inside pocket, face out, so the picture warms with my heat. If I stumble, I want the last thing against my chest to be a promise, not a pill. At the counter, I open the new phone. No contacts, no history. It feels like a borrowed name. My thumbs type slowly, but exactly. The older adult knows. I add my address. I imagine the message arriving in Danny's hand. Those scraped knuckles. That ring rash he never lets heal. The tiny twitch in his left eye that showed itself when the cuffs bit. I press send. The tone is soft, almost polite. It's the loudest sound in the room. I leave the phone face down by the sink. The screen lights once, twice, as if answering itself. I don't look. People think the first motion springs traps. They're wrong. Traps are sprung by waiting. I step out, pull the door until the latch whispers shut, and turn the key slowly. Outside, night leans on the block. The rain is steady. Thin lines, no drama, masking footsteps and engines equally. Across the street, I slide into the sedan and let the seat accept my weight. The dashboard clock glows a weak green. The second hand skips, like my heart does. We agree to take turns. Through the windshield, my house looks like a photograph of itself. No glare, no movement. The curtains stay still. The porch bulb is dead by design. In the neighbor's yard, the chimes barely move. I crack the window and take a breath of air. The sweet edge rides the rain. The mix is doing what it should. I pull a cigarette from an old pack and set it between my fingers without lighting it. The paper darkens at the tip where the rain reaches. My hand trembles, small, a sewing machine tick I can't shame into stopping. I let it. The shake is honest. Men who never shake are either young or lying. Headlights smear around the far corner, then pass. Another car glides by slowly. Windows up, driver hunched. Not them. Danny will come like all men who think they're owed. Too fast, too sure, with witnesses who don't know they're already practicing their statements. I check the side mirror for shapes on foot. Nothing yet. My lungs tighten on a schedule I disapprove. I raise the inhaler, press, hold, release. The plastic taste settles like chalk. The world edges back into focus one line at a time. The burner buzzes once in my pocket, an unknown reply I don't need to read. The clock's green hand slides, misses a beat, catches up. I work the ring once, let the skin remember the pressure. Across the street, a thin line of condensation crawls along the kitchen window and fades. Good. The house is learning its role. I rehearse the next minutes like they're lines in a play with one scene. Break in, switch, spark, breath, silence. I picture Danny's shoes on my floor, his voice lowered to impress the boys behind him. The pause at the light as the thought lands. He left the switches up. Then the reflex every man has from a lifetime of dark rooms. A flick, a bright lesson. A pair of taillights appears at the end of the block and goes black. Engine idles. Doors shut. Muffled laughter carries. Then the flat tone men get when they start to mean what they say. 3 shadows cross the street as if they belong to them. The middle shape limps. Something from the county they didn't reset. The one on the right pulls on his gloves with his teeth. The left checks the curb, not the windows. Sloppy, still. They disappear under my porch roof. The knob tests. The metal protests. A tool comes out. The strike plate yields with a dry pop I feel in my molars. The door opens and closes like a held breath. My house takes them in. I watch the kitchen window, a faint movement, then stillness. I count. 1 Mississippi, 2, teach my own heart to match the number. The cigarette sits unlit between my fingers, damp and patient. My reflection in the glass is a pale oval, the eyes 2 dark coins. Far away, a siren says its piece to someone else. Here, in this small square of night, everything that's about to happen has already happened in my head. I lower the window another inch and wait for the light that will end the dark twice. When the plan hinges on one flick of a switch, do you trust the reflex you're counting on? Or the part of you that wonders what happens if your enemy finally decides to learn? The kitchen light snaps. The house inhales flame and spits it back as a fist. A white flash turns the window into a sheet of daylight. Then the blast slams through my car like a giant hand trying to fold it in half. Heat slaps my face. The windshield bows and rains glitter. A door rockets across the yard and chews a mailbox in 2. The porch lifts, rises like a breaking wave, then drops crooked, coughing sparks. I'm already out. My feet don't feel the ground. The air smells wrong, hot plastic, drywall dust, the sweet bite of cooked gas, the faint, awful tang of hair. Screams try to stand up and fall over. I move along the fence line in the dark seam where the fire hasn't reached. My heart seizes, punches, misses. I swallow a pill dry. It sticks like a coin. I keep moving. Two of them are pieces under my kitchen window, black shapes in a collar of glass. The third drags himself through the yard, leaving two long tracks where legs used to be. He claws at the grass with the stubbornness of an animal that doesn't understand math. The burned face turns. The voice is a wet whistle through ash. It's him. Danny's eyes find mine. They shrink, then widen. He sees it. The car, the shape, the older adult inside it. Recognition carries its own light. I step out where he can't pretend he didn't see me. The world around us is red and gold and loud, sirens deciding which way to come, neighbors turning on porch lights like they're voting. I kneel in the wet edge of the lawn, feel sod squish under bone. My hands shake hard enough to blur the edges of everything except his face. He tries to say a word that might be help or sorry or nothing. I take Andre's photo from my pocket and hold it in front of his good eye. The paper warms in my hand, catches a lick of heat, curls at one corner. Andre's grin stays. The cap is still crooked. You called me old man, I tell him, soft as a bedtime instruction. You forgot what old men in this city used to be. He coughs a sound that wants to be a laugh and can't. His left hand flaps at my wrist, a moth hitting a window. I ease the pharmacy bag out, white, stamped with a blue cross and a list of hours that will never be kept again. I open it with a snap of my fingers like a trick for a child. Then I lower it over his face. He bucks once, twice. My arms are wire-pulled too tight. Smoke wanders into my throat and scratches my voice to nothing. I keep the bag sealed with the flats of my hands, careful, exact, the way I used to steady Rosa's wrist when her meds shook her in the morning. Danny's chest jerks. The bag fogs with what's left of his breath, then clears, then fogs thinner. Something hot stabs down my left arm and turns the world to grain. I sway, ride the wave, clamp harder. The pill loosens at last and melts where it can't help. My pulse goes bang, bang, gap, bang, bang. I wait out the gap like a man listening for a late train. His hands slow. The bag goes quiet. I haven't pulled it yet. I count to 8 because numbers can be a kind of truth when your body is full of lies. I count again. I lift it the smallest amount to be sure of what absence is. Danny is gone. The fire crawls up the siding and licks at the eaves. Glass tinkles down like bad snow. A neighbor yells my name and gets the wrong answer from the wind. I slide the bag off and fold it flat, fold, 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 until it is small enough to disappear in my pocket beside the photo. Andre's face is warm, smoke-sweet. I press the picture to my chest so it can hear. My legs forget how to be legs. I push up from the lawn and something inside me pulls a wire loose. The night tilts. The sirens round the corner, and the block stutters blue-red, blue-red. People shout in twos. Someone calls gas, and the street obliges by backing up 3 steps. I walk. The world shifts like a ship turning. I pass the shape of my front steps sitting crooked in the street and want to laugh for real. I pass the tree where Rosa tied old holiday lights that we never plugged in again. The bark is warm against my knuckles when I steady myself. I keep going because stopping would be a different kind of truth. At the corner, the wind changes and brings me my own house. It's smoke, it's heat, the specific small pops of photos exploding in frames. I stand long enough to hear that and decide it will not be the last sound I hear. I start downhill toward the bus stop with my hands in my pockets, like any tired man walking home from a day he didn't ask for. Halfway there, the heart misses on purpose. My knees blur. I find the bench with my hip more than my eyes. A teenager in a plastic poncho stares like he's waiting for me to become a story. I shake my head and make a hand shape that means, call for the gas, not me. He ignores the second part and runs because he hasn't learned yet how to separate kindness from orders. I lean back, let the rain find the open collar of my shirt, and watch orange work itself down to red. I can taste copper and sugar and something like roses if roses burned. The old ring is hot against bone. I turn it once more, slow, to make the circle mean what it meant. Andre's photo is a small square of heat against my ribs. He is still smiling. He is still 19. In a minute, the professionals will arrive, and they will do what they can with what's left. Somewhere, a phone will ring for Aram, and he will answer like he already knew the ending. I close my eyes and see the pharmacy floor, the register light, the curve of Rosa's laugh in a room that did not deserve it. My chest decides its own timing. I let it. I've done what I came to do. When the fire finally goes out and the boy you couldn't save is the last warm thing against your heart, what do you hold on to? The breath you might not get back, or the quiet proof that this time the city took the right fear into its lungs? The bench is slick, and the rain has lost its hurry. I lean back and let the orange from the house paint my shoes the color of a warning I finally heard. The teenager's breath makes little ghosts as he dials. He asks if I'm okay, and I tell him the only thing that matters. Call for the gas leak, not me. He nods like he understands, then runs anyway, feet slapping puddles, voice high and true when he finds a porch with someone who will answer. Sirens rise, not the hungry kind. The kind that keep their distance to see what the flames decide. The street steps back. Neighbors hold each other's elbows like they're learning again how to stand. I keep my hands in my pockets, thumbs on the ring and the folded edge of a photograph. Heat finds my ribs in a wave and then lets me go. I close my eyes and count once, not for timing, just for company. Time moves in small clicks. The truck's engine is idling. The slap of a hose uncoiling. A shouted number. Then quietly taking turns with action. The boy comes back, hovering. Rain on his lashes. A kindness he hasn't learned to hide. I aim my voice where it will do the least harm. Good job. He nods and blinks hard like praise is a thing he hasn't had in a while. I breathe. It's work. I do it because I'm still on this side of the work. The ring is warm and honest against bone. I twist it one more time and let it rest where it belongs. If a stranger sprinted for help even after you told him not to, is that disobedience or the kind of mercy you hope the world keeps forgetting how to refuse? Mourning makes ugly things look official. Police tape sags between fences like tired ribbon. A camera team points at my house and calls it a scene. Somebody hands out quotes that no one will remember correctly. Gang retaliation. Known crew. Criminal associates. The phrasing is clean and heavy. It lands where it needs to land. A detective stands near the chalk of a body that isn't mine and writes in a thin notebook. He has that look men wear after they've seen too many rooms come apart. He says my name like he's testing a door. Marcus Webb, presumed inside. They will sift rubble and find a story that closes neatly. They will not see me where they think to look. Down the street, the bus brakes wheeze and kneel. The door opens for no one, then closes for no one. The driver watches the fire and shifts in his seat like he's not sure which route to favor, schedule or spectacle. He pulls away slowly. The world keeps its appointments with or without me. A woman in a plastic bonnet hangs a towel on her porch rail and stares into the smoke like she's reading a sign only she can see. For a second, I wish she could tell me what it says. When the city writes your ending for you, is that theft or the slight relief of letting someone else carry the last sentence? A bank office that smells like coffee burned at 6 a.m. An envelope slides across a desk, nameless. The teller checks the watermark twice, then again, because careful people can't afford to be wrong. A cashier's check for $180,000. The clerk asks if there's a memo to attach. There isn't. She feeds it into a machine that sings a short, satisfied note and stamps a date that will matter to one person and no one else. The mail carrier on a block where the trees reach across the street like old friends. A mailbox with a brass flag that needs oil, a stack of flyers, a church bulletin, a plain envelope with no return. It waits until the afternoon to be opened because grief keeps odd hours. At the kitchen table, Andre's mother slides a thumb under the flap and finds the sum you could build a school year on. She presses her hand to her mouth to keep the sound in. Then she doesn't. She whispers a thank you to a room that knows how to keep secrets. When she looks up, the clock is still slow by half a second, but she doesn't correct it. Some mistakes you leave in place to remember what time can do to a house. If money arrives with no sender, does it feel like a blessing, or a weight you must turn into something that matters before it starts to hurt? Two men from the property board lift the plywood back onto the pharmacy windows. The paint on the boards is new, the screws are old. A neighbor tucks a carnation into the gap by the door. Another ties a ribbon to the handle that won't turn again. A kid on a skateboard rolls by and stops when he sees the flowers. He takes off his cap and puts it back on with the bill straight. Inside, dust reclaims the aisles. The register light is dark in a way that feels permanent. The rubber mat behind the counter still remembers footsteps. If you stand very still, you might mistake the hum of the soda cooler for a laugh that isn't here. The bell over the back door hangs quietly and stubbornly, ready for a hand that will not lift it. A small sign taped to the plywood says, "We love you, Dre." The marker bled at the edges in last night's damp. Someone underlined it twice. You can't highlight a life, but people try, and it helps. When a place that gave medicine becomes a shrine, do you leave it closed to keep the story accurate, or fight to reopen the door so the block remembers more than the worst thing that happened there? Weeks pass without asking permission. The lounge in Glendale keeps its windows dark for a few nights. Then the lights return, the smoke rises, and men whisper again. The bar on Sepulveda pulls different laughs out of different throats. A new crew parks closer to the curb than the old one did. They look over their shoulders more. They count the cameras before they count the cash. Change is a language everyone speaks when they have to. Ernesto adds a new sign to the shop wall. No after hours. He says it out loud to anyone who might forget. His youngest keeps the grinder blade covered even when he's only walking it across the floor. The music is lower now. The beat is still there. It just knocks from farther back in the room. The detective from my doorway drives past the burned lot on his way to another mess. He slows. He looks. He doesn't stop. Someone told him the body was never found. He wrote it down and moved on because work is a tide. At the church, they plant a sapling next to a brick path. The plaque is simple: Andre Webb. A year will make the leaves big enough to throw shade. A decade will put birds in it that know the hymns. A mother sets out a folding chair and sits, hands in her lap, eyes on the green. A deacon stands with her without speaking. The sun handles the rest. If the only thing you can grow where a wound happened is a tree, is that healing, or just another place for the wind to tell the same story softer? Back on the bench, the rain has stopped. The street glows with a skin of water that makes every light look kinder than it is. My breath has found a rhythm it can keep, not strong, not weak, earned. I touch the corner of the photo in my pocket and feel the stiff paper answer. I don't take it out. I know his face. I don't need proof. They called him Old Man. I say to the empty air, to the boy in the poncho, to the house that did its last job. They never asked what kind. The sirens turn away. The night settles into the shape it knows. Somewhere, a bus breathes and leans and carries tired strangers to doors that open and close. Somewhere, a clerk learns how to say no without being punished. Somewhere, a kid hears the bell over a door and thinks about coming back tomorrow. He didn't ask for mercy, he built it, one act of justice at a time. If you believe some names deserve peace more than praise, hit subscribe. Watch more stories where silence speaks louder than revenge. And remember, even the quietest endings can echo for a lifetime. When the story ends without your name attached, is that loss or the exact measure of peace you were trying to buy for the people still here?